Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. Hope you guys are having a great start to your day. Hopefully, you folks have a 3 day weekend. If not, hope you guys are having a great start to your weekend regardless. It is New Year's Eve, the last day of the year. And today it's going to be very soggy for millions of people. Expecting some rain for a lot of people up and down the eastern seaboard. Maybe some severe storms, but not a big risk of that. The real big risk comes after the new year, talking about the second into the third, really looking at January 2nd to be a really big day for severe weather. Already an enhanced risk, which is a risk 3 out of 5 on the Storm Prediction Center legend there. So this is an enhanced risk at day 3. So we still have another couple of days for this to trend up or down. Let's hope it does not trend up, but certainly going to start off the new year with a severe weather threat. But I don't know if you folks remember, we kind of started off the new year last year with the same kind of deal. We had a severe weather threat, but it also had some winter weather matched in with it too. It was a kind of a negatively tilted trough, but it was kind of a compact storm that packed a real big punch where it had heavy rain changing to snow. Some of the same areas got severe weather, and then, like 12 to 24 hours got winter weather. But this isn't going to be that kind of storm, and it's going to be a little further west than that storm last year. But we're going to figure it out, and so stay tuned towards the end of the video. We'll give you some updated information, but then tonight we'll go deeper into it, much deeper. We'll be in full range or some of these short range model guidance. But in this video, we'll give you some good information also. But we're going to talk about in the beginning of the video what's going to happen weather-wise for today, because it's a big day. A lot of people got activities going on, whether it's indoors or outdoors. We're going to try to figure it out for you folks. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider subscribing. Like the video if you like it. I really appreciate you folks for an awesome year. Obviously, this was the most successful year since doing my YouTube channel, which I haven't had it a few years. But thank you all for an incredible year. Started off the year, I think, just shy of 10,000 subscribers, and now I'm knocking on a door of 37,000. So thank you all so much for the support. It means the world. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. As always, it gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. So let's get going here. And I'll still get a video out tonight. I'll definitely will squeeze one in. I know a lot of people will have stuff going on, but there is a severe weather event coming up, like I just mentioned, that's going to affect a lot of people. So I want to just keep the content pumping for you folks. But watches, warnings, advisories, there's a lot of fog out there this morning. It's very foggy in my area here in central South Carolina, very foggy in the deep south. And that's just because we have a lot of low-level moisture out there. A lot of folks are waking up. It's not even close to the freezing mark. You're waking up to the 50s, 60s, heck, maybe even the 70s in Florida. I was in Jacksonville, Florida, which my Gamecocks did lose, unfortunately, but it was still fun. Very fun experience, except the drive there, 95. I know you folks in the Southeast can definitely voice to this, is awful. It took 7 hours to get to Jacksonville. It's a 4-hour trip. And it was just, it was awful. It was awful. But anyways, made it there, had a good time. My Gamecocks came up short, but it was still a really good time. Awesome stadium down there in Jacksonville, you folks have for sure. But anyways, it was very warm, like 80 degrees. It was a little humid. It was crazy. It felt like summertime. But winter storm watch is up for the northern to central plains, where we are expecting the same system that's going to give severe weather for the south. A winter storm on the cold side of this. So we're going to get a winter storm from this also. And we'll get much detailed on that tonight also. But checking out what's going on with satellite, we still have this lingering system that's just going to pump a lot of rain. It's not going to be a washout for everybody, but for certain areas, it's going to be enough rain to just keep dampness even after it rains. Like New York City, I think most of the rain will go on throughout the evening, but then by the time the ball drops, it might not be raining, but at the same time, it'll be pretty damp outside, and it won't be very cold, so that's a good thing, but very damp. But anyways, this system coming off the Pacific, entering the west, this is the one we need to worry about. This will dig down here and then promote a severe weather threat and a winter storm threat to the north. And like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit at the end of the video, and then we'll also talk about the winter side of it, but not too much on that. But stay tuned tonight. There is a marginal risk for severe storms today in this region, but not expecting anything big. Just got a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location, and this marginal, and then a little bit of a threat for damage and winds. But this thing does include Tallahassee, almost to Jacksonville, up to Savannah. This actually went all the way up to Columbia yesterday, but it is downtrended, which is good. I really don't want to be talking about severe weather on the last day of the new year. But definitely a risk for storms to develop, and we could have a strong storm or two all the way as far north as North Carolina. It's definitely possible. Let's talk about each region and how this could develop today. There's already some showers out and about, and pretty much from areas of Arkansas all the way through the Carolinas, Virginia. We'll continue to pump this out throughout the day. And then just some daytime heating. Humidity will build in the panhandle of Florida into the Big Bend areas of Florida and southeast Georgia, all the way up to South Carolina. I think the eastern Midlands into the sand hills of North Carolina could certainly have some storm development, as there's enough daytime heating, and the atmosphere will destabilize enough for some severe storms to potentially pop up, especially and mainly to the south down here in southeast Georgia. So we'll watch for that. Damaging winds, maybe an isolated tornado, but this will work through. And the thing about the southeast today is it's not like a congealed area of rain, like a huge area of rain where it's going to be raining for hours. It was kind of looking like that a few days ago. This looks like an area of storms that could develop. It could move through Raleigh later this afternoon into this evening. Even Savannah, Charleston, down as far south as maybe Jacksonville a little bit later this evening. And then this moves off the coast as we are getting into around the 9 p.m. time frame. People start, shooting fireworks, whether it's legal in your state, not sure. And here in South Carolina, it is legal. You can shoot fireworks, thankfully. But of course, not every state like that. But anyways, this continues to move off the coast of the southeast, but some rain will linger for Florida and just all the way up into midnight. But it will start to diminish, but not everybody will see it. But then we get these storms out of here, and then by the time I'll be asleep. But this is around 2 a.m. Not really much rain at all for anybody in the southeast. I'll probably be asleep at 9 p.m. I don't really care about staying up till midnight, but I know that's not everybody. But the northeast. It's just going to be a really rainy day. Ohio already starting off with rain. This rain will start to move into areas like Buffalo, western New York State, western Pennsylvania, like Pittsburgh, and it'll be it'll be broken up kind of right here, right in the middle of the interior areas of the Northeast. But then a shield of rain will start to move into Washington D.C., Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York City, right into the afternoon hours. Same thing up to Boston. Basically, the entire I-95 corridor will be kind of shrouded with light to moderate rain, and this will last through most of the afternoon, the evening, and then, according to the EH model, you're going to have an area of rain that moves in right in time for the ball dropping here in New York City and Long Island. And we'll see how this plays. Maybe it clears out, but either way, it's going to be soggy. It's going to be soggy for any kind of festivities you got going on, especially if they're outside. And this will clear out, and then a little area of a system with maybe enough cold air. We'll talk about that here in a second. But anyways, next 24 hours, anywhere from a quarter inch to a half inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch of rain up the I-95 corridor all the way down to Virginia Beach, this northeast North Carolina. But there'll be an area right in the middle that doesn't see a whole lot of rain, just a lot of clouds, a lot of drizzle. But Buffalo, Erie could pick up a quarter to a half inch of rain on top of that rapidly melting snowpack that it's crazy. It just seems like, I think this happened in November too when we got all that snow in Buffalo, and then like a week later it was well above freezing and melting very quickly. But we look at the south central U.S., there's not a whole lot to talk about. Nothing really at all, honestly. Very, very quiet day. So enjoy your New Year's Eve. If in the south central U.S., you are definitely the breadwinner of the day for nice weather for the New Year's Eve. North central U.S., pretty quiet also, but there will be a disturbance that kind of develops this afternoon into eastern areas of Iowa. There'll be just enough cold air around for this to fall, maybe some sleet, freezing rain in certain areas of Iowa. This moves into Wisconsin, and there'll be an area of snow this evening for, very small, very narrow area of snow just stretching from northern Wisconsin down into central and southern Wisconsin, maybe a little bit of snow from Milwaukee, Green Bay, a little bit later tonight, and then maybe this gets into the UP of Michigan before kind of drying up, and maybe deliver some light snow, and then it could get going again, and you might wake up just a little bit of snow falling in Detroit tomorrow morning. But other than that, not a big deal. Temperatures today, very mild. It could be much worse. You got 60s making it as far north as Kansas City. 60s all the way up into Kansas, and then Oklahoma 60s, maybe some 70s, and then widespread 60s and 70s, even some 80s into southern areas of Texas, 60s and 70s throughout the deep south, Florida, We'll be feeling just downright humid with 70s and 80s. And then the Eastern Carolinas will warm up good into the 60s and 70s, and then very mild for the Northeast. A very bearable, if you will. Just it could be much worse, 40s and 50s for highs, just depending on location. Obviously, if you're on a 4,000 foot mountaintop in the Northeast, it'll probably won't get out the 30s. But the Ohio Valley, pretty mild too, but still pretty chilly. And then the Northern Plains, North Central U.S., 30s to below freezing. But the story today will be some humidity into the deep south and Florida. Florida will be just downright humid. Dew points well into the 60s, so you'll feel a little juice to the atmosphere today. Temperatures might not rise but it'll certainly feel a little humid out there. You will feel just a little bit of touch of some humidity out there today as far north as the Delmarva area. So it's always interesting, and considering the fact that we're starting to get deeper into winter. But let's go on and switch to I think in the last video I said Tuesday when I meant to say Monday. So you keep correcting me if I say the wrong day. But for Monday, January the 2nd, this is going to be probably our big day, and Tuesday, January 3rd might trend to a more significant situation, but for now that's not the case. You got an enhanced risk. That is a level 3 out of 5 in the severe weather outlook legend or category here. And you got, like I said, you got marginal risk, which is that dark green, slight risk, that yellow, level 2, enhanced risk, level 3, and then you got the moderate risk, level 4, and then the high risk, which is in pink, of level 5. So we're not there yet. Let's hope we don't, but there's an enhanced risk. And this includes Shreveport, Little Rock, not quite the Dallas. This reminds me a lot of the last severe weather threat. But what was crazy is the next day ended up materializing a heck of a lot better than the first day. But let's just hope this doesn't materialize good at all. But for now, there is going to be a risk of all hazards. Hail's not going to be a big threat, but damaging winds and some tornadoes are the biggest threat with this. But you guys are, I imagine you guys are, it's not funny, but you get what I'm saying. You guys got to be getting used to this by now, because it seems like this area has been under the gun several times over the last few months, and it's going to be the case again. So watch out, Northeast Texas, Northern Louisiana, and then southern to central areas of Arkansas. But it's just kind of the matter of the fact that certain areas are going to have the better kinematics, some areas will have the better thermodynamics. And wherever those areas kind of overlap is where you'll have the worst severe weather threat. But there is, of course, with this, a 30% risk of severe weather within 25 miles in given location. And there's also a 10% risk in this hatched region right here, this black outline region, of significant severe weather. So we don't know what that's going to be until we get into tomorrow, until they're more confident. But there is a 10% risk of that. Not added to the 30, but just, isn't it, like, it's just there. You get what I'm saying? But there is also a 15% risk of severe weather. It's basically a slight risk at day 4 for Tuesday. So this moves a little bit more downstream into the east. Includes Jackson, the Birmingham, all the way to Atlanta, Chattanooga, not quite up to Nashville, Mobile, New Orleans. So there will be severe weather. And they're saying in the discussion that the biggest threat might be damaging winds, but there will be a threat of some damage of some tornadoes also. Really, the ingredients with this we already know. We're getting into the morning of the 1st. Humidity begins to build, these dew points, the surface moisture. Then we get into the morning of the 2nd, our big day of severe weather. And this is the 12 km NAM. And, we'll stop at around afternoon time of Monday, January 2nd, and you got dew points rising anywhere from the low to upper 60s, and that is certainly supportive as far as low-level moisture for severe weather. And dew points almost all the way down to the 70s, up into the 70s, into the Gulf Coast down here, but you'll be lacking some kinematics down here. So the better forcing will be right into here, where you'll have better forcing as in better thunderstorm development. And then we keep this rolling, and even more moisture begins to rise as we get into that day 4 range, that Tuesday range. But the sector of ingredients, that warm sector, the moist sector, shrinks somewhat, but you'll still have some intense thermodynamics down here. So we need to watch for that. Thermodynamics meaning the temperatures, the high temperatures, the CAPE levels, which we're about to show you, which is that energy that these storms fuel off of. And certainly here, due to the fact that we got the spike in the low-level moisture, which directly responds with Cape here, not directly, but it's definitely a factor. The higher your dew points, normally the better the Cape can rise in general. But, this is the evening of the 2nd. You got Cape levels rising in eastern Texas. In eastern Texas. So I would not be surprised if this trend's a little bit better. Maybe not better. I got to stop saying that. I'm used to talking about winter weather, but a little bit worse is what I meant to say for severe weather. Maybe a little bit further into western to Texas. So this might get extended a little bit further into Texas. We'll see. But this is just one short range model. We'll be in the range of many as we get into this evening. But you got Cape values reaching in the mixed layer Cape, well over 1,000 joules per kilogram. And then the spikes into Arkansas as we get into the late evening to the overnight hours. And the little area right into here. This is where we got to watch. Cape levels reaching well above 1,000 joules per kilogram in this region. And that certainly is enough fuel for these thunderstorms to really get going when you already have a supportive climatic atmosphere, which I'm about to show you here. You look at the low-level jet. These are winds about a mile, give or take 1,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And as we're getting into Monday afternoon, and then, at this point we're in Monday afternoon, you got about a 40 to 50, in general, just a 50-knot low-level jet in this region. Cape levels beginning to rise into a 500 to 1,000, maybe as high as 1,500 joules per kilogram. And then as we're getting into the evening hours, it really begins to spike in this area into Arkansas. So there's going to be some, wicked winds just above our heads. Well, I wouldn't say just above. A mile above our heads is pretty far, right? But there's going to be turning with height, shear, directional shear. So we're going to have a threat with severe weather or tornadoes regardless of the storm mode. If it's just like a linear threat where it's a line of storms, you're still going to have a threat of severe weather. And tornadoes. But, the low-level jet really gets going as we get into later into the evening for Monday. Don't let me say Tuesday, guys. But it's pushing almost 70 knots according to the 12 km NAM here. So we need to watch. But, I know you see all these crazy colors up here in Illinois, Indiana. I have a lot of people always ask about severe weather in Indiana and Illinois. But the thing is yes, you have an intense low-level jet in this region, but you're lacking what we call thermodynamics. So you don't have a lot of Cape up here, hardly any, and low-level moisture is just not supportive for severe weather. That's a main ingredient for a lot of severe weather or severe weather in general, and that just will not be here. But we look at the latest NAM. 3 km NAM, and it shows the beginning stages of this severe weather threat. What kind of immediately catches my attention is this is around 9 a.m. Central Time, which is going to be the time frame that Monday's threat's going to be in. I'm just associate the first day of the week with the first, I guess. But and it only goes out to 60 hours, but it shows a messy storm mode out here, meaning you got a lot of scattered convection in eastern Tennessee. There's a lot of just sloppy convection, messy, a lot of just storm action, but it's just kind of congealed together. That would be good considering the fact that, yes, you still have ingredients, but you don't want this to get into kind of a supercell mode, whereas these storms get discrete. That's when you get really a dangerous tornado threat. But the last frame, this is around midday, around 12, and normally we see these really get going into the afternoon, evening, and even overnight hours. It just has a lot of sloppy convection, but we don't know how this is going to develop. Is this going to be an overnight threat? Is the worst going to come overnight? Here's a low pressure, the surface low ejecting across this mid-level trough, and it's just getting going at this frame. So we don't know how we're going to get in range of the next HRRR model literally here in the next hour. But stay tuned tonight. I have you a big video. I'll try to drop it a little bit earlier just so I can enjoy some football and the rest of the evening. But stay tuned tonight. I'll have you guys an update. God bless. You guys have an awesome day, awesome last day of the year, and I'll talk to you soon.